Hello, our next guest does not need special introduction. Ralph T. Niemeyer, who has fought for decades for return of the sovereignty of the German people. Politician, journalist, witness of historic events from the fall of the German Wall to millions of people in the streets protesting wars. So, without further ado, and in order to set the field for our explanation of what we do together with Ralph as representatives of our people, in order to bring about a platform, international platform for solving these issues and for having a seat at the table of the new institutions that are forming in front of our eyes, and how we can get the real voice and will of sovereign European people that are now under cultural, political, social, economic threat, and how to channel and formulate that voice in the institutions of the new multipolar world order. Ralph, without further ado, please.
Well, let me briefly say, first, thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you and to address these issues. We believe that many people in the world are not aware what is really happening in Germany and with Germany. Now, this goes back, if you want, to the end of the Second World War. This was the Potsdam Agreement of the 1st of 1945, claims that Germany, in orders of the 30th of December 1937, was the time before Hitler had other states like Austria, Czech Republic, and also before he had Poland and later the Soviet Union. So this is the time. This German time was one they referred to in the Potsdam Agreement of 1st of August 1995. The Potsdam Agreement was a peace treaty. It was simply listing the powers of the four allies, the Soviet Union, the United States of America, Great Britain, and France. And it was only about military capitulation, not a political dissolvement of the state Germany. So it was simply occupied since 1st of 1945 at the end of the war. So after truce emerged, because the Soviet wanted to hold free elections in parts of Germany, but the American-dominated Western part did not allow it, so they wanted to make sure that Germany is separated. So we had two states. 7th of October 1940, the German Democratic Republic, was established, and they had a constitution, actually. In West Germany, at the center of Germany, being founded by the three Western allies, Britain and the United States. So we had so-called basic law first. Basic law is under the international people's law, not the Constitution. The Constitution is based on the people's law, and it comes from the right to self-determination that each has, every people has this right to self-determination. So we in Germany never, since 1871, a constitution that was not even by other powers to us. 1870 was the foundation of the German Reich. That was, of course, under the emperor, was not a constitution of democracy. So that was 1871. It was done in the mirror surrounding castle of Versailles near Paris, and it was 26 federal states in this foundation. As I said, this was not a constitutional democracy. This empire, the German Empire. So it was a royal First World War, and then of course we had First World War 1918. We had kind of a revolutionary situation, and of course, having lost the First World War, it meant that it was the powers who won it actually forced us to accept the country that we did not found ourselves. That was the so-called Weimar Constitution. Now, if you have a gun pointed at your head and being told you have to adopt this concept, that is anything else but self-determination. That is the opposite. So that's why I say, since the Hitler times from 1933 to 1940, was not constitutional democracy. It was brutal fascist dictatorship. But now, after 1945, as I just said before, we had the Potsdam Agreement in Germany into four. Then there was one West state. The Americans strongly had told us to adopt the basic law, institute preliminary constitution, and the Potsdam Agreement stated that we will have to have equity at the end of the occupation. And it was not defined when that would be. That was an open chapter. And we can say since then, because we are still lacking the peace treaty, since that time we live big parts with a ceasefire. Actually speaking, the Second World War has not ended because we don't have a peace treaty. That means we have a situation right now, which I think we are every now and then if we send arms into a conflict directed against Russia. And that's why it's important that we will one day agree. And of course, institution that we found in self-determination. The last article of the so-called basic law that the Americans passed in 1948-49, it's Article 146, and that this basic law shall be until such time that the United Germany will have a constitutional referendum on constitution founded under the international law based on and be in self-determination. That is the constitution we will have since 1871, if you want.
And you have a very interesting story about why this the adoption of constitution did not happen. You've been witness of this historic event with Helmut Kohl and Mikhail Gorbachev. And please let us know and our viewers why this was so close for Germany to adopt that constitution and why it did not happen. Who prevented this from happening?
I can go back in this 19, where after the war had fallen in 1989, November, just in 1990, there was negotiations being held in Chancellor Poland with all war powers of the Second World War to unite Japan. And after this revolutionary East Germany and the German Democratic Republic were crumbled into pieces, and socialism was gone for good. Then, of course, the moment for generation came up. Chancellor Kohl was very quick to get in a very favorable way for Australia. I cannot criticize for that. But what he did was that excluded territory that is, of course, German territory and should be German territory. That is, bring back to the Potsdam Agreement of 1940, says the Germany is defined as the Germany borders before and annexations and expansions that Hitler crimes committed. So that is the Germany in this of the 31st of 1947. That is what the Potsdam Agreement says. Helmut Kohl, the Chancellor of West Germany, immediately said that he will not have the borders the Germany between the two, that it to be united, German Democratic Republic, Federal of Germany. He didn't want to open the issue with Poland, of course, which I agree. Of course, we cannot simply say, "Oh, give it back to us." I mean, we had started a war, we had lost the war. That's all clear. That there were tremendous crimes, which also the Polish and other people suffered from German military fascism. So I'm not the one who should have taken that into account to try to carry Johnny back. But the peace treaty begun anyway for this territory. It happened to close the chapter of the Second World War. And before you want to start a third part war meeting now, let's close the chapter of the Second World. Sounds a bit silly, but this is the true matter. Now, on the 11th of February 1990, that Gorbachev, the president of the Soviet Union, and Mikhail Gorbachev offered to him to have a peace treaty. Mr. Gorbachev later commented to me in an interview. I was a journalist at that time, and I had interviewed Helmut Kohl when he came to meeting Mr. Gorbachev in the crowd. I asked him, Mr. Chancellor, is that not the moment that formed the Constitution as basic law Article 146? And Mr. Kohl said, yes, that is, we ought to draw up a constitution for the Germany. So I said, okay, thank you, the Chancellor, we start doing that. So I formed then, under the Constitutional Right, Article 146, that I have as a citizen, I formed then a council for the preparation of such a constitutional assembly. And I became the chairman of that. We had people supporting us from all sides, from all parts of Germany, even from those which were ancient, from Königsberg, was at that time Soviet territory, occupied the German territory, but occupied by the Russian Federation. Again, I'm one who's naming territory back. Right after 80 years, has happened for everyone. People are, we can't take them out to say, this is not what we want. What we want, that we have it on paper, that the occupation has ended and that we will not be in a ceasefire situation, but have a proper peace treaty that is defining exactly our position in the world as free, independent, democratic partner to all other nations, so that we take back our seat in the middle of the group nations like everybody else has. And at the moment we're occupied because we don't have this peace treaty. We got in 1990 that the so-called 2+4 treaty on German unification and settlement of Germany, it says. But this 2+4 treaty is not, it has a lot of no combined secrets that allowed U.S. forces to use the airbase. We still have a lot of eastbound Stuttgart barracks from the rifles. They expanded that. They used Ramstein for all their war they conducted since 1945 from German territory. And we always said that bullets shall come from German soil after the tragedy of the two world wars. So now Mr. Korb said to me in 1990, he said, when I asked him, did you offer a peace treaty? Yes, we assumed we offered peace treaties to speak to express that. Chancellor Kohl had rejected that. He said, "I want to talk about that." And laughed. He says, Niemeyer would not have talked. So that was the reality. And that's why it is so urgent to.
But if I may, many would argue that in a way Germany had elections, governments, had relative economic prosperity and well-being. Hence, they did not even need or notice lack of sovereignty, of lack of voice or will. Only now, do you agree that when the time of economic crisis is coming, when the Western neoliberal model has finished its mileage and it's not delivering development and well-being anymore for the Western nations, only now that issue that is legalistic maybe and very academic for many people of sovereignty and lack of sovereignty for the German people is coming to the fore, just because of that economic point. That now with the Nord Stream 2, with the destruction and the industrialization of Germany, we see that German people actually do not have levers to affect their destiny. Their destiny has been and it is solved somewhere else.
Yeah, I can agree with you here. It is true. It is important for our well-being and our wealth as a nation, but it's also important for all of the European partners that we have with the European Union and European Economic Area. They are a strong, stable, and democratic partner in the center of Europe. We have knives, and if we have instability, that is not good for none of our neighbors. So, in this historic context, we have to look at the economy as one of the most important. And as you rightly said, the inability of Russian gas supply in the past 2 years, we had a big crisis over here, big economic crisis. And I myself, I was involved in the Nord Stream 2 opening because I'm an industrial person thinking of company itself needs steel and we have to melt a lot of gas for that, a lot of energy. I had, of course, immediately the interest to solve this matter at the time when on the 11th of July 2022, Russia stopped the Nord Stream 1 gas because they didn't get the turbine back then from Siemens sent to Canada for service. And this turbine did not come back because they said they could not send it due to the sanctions that were imposed. Then, of course, Nord Stream 1 didn't function anymore. They had to switch off the gas supply. I immediately rang former Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, who's a good friend of President Putin. And he's also the chairman of the Nord Stream AG in Zug in Switzerland, which is the administrative owner of the lines 1 and 2. And he's the of the Verwaltungsrat. So is in charge, actually. So I rang him. He went down to Moscow and he came back with the meeting with Mr. Putin and he said he should open Nord Stream 2. But that was it. Then he didn't continue to make any pressure, political pressure of the government in Berlin. And when I asked to do so, he said, to all did what I can. He kind of had given up. So I said, okay, now, what shall we do? He says, fly there, talk to them, and maybe you contract. So I went there, I spoke with Dmitry Peskov, and Sergei Lov. So I had some contacts to them already. So I went to them in Vladivostok at the hall, and there I met also the Campbell, Alexei Miller, and we thought that to solve this issue, that he please give us contracts for opening Nord Stream 2. And he said, no problem. I would explain to him that my position as the chairman of the Operational Council for Sovereign Constitution of Germany would allow me to represent Germany in the Wars of 1937. Of course, not as a representative for the Federal Republic of Germany, which is, of course, Mr. Scholz, President Niemeyer. I'm not pretending anything. I'm just saying we want to have a contract for opening Nord Stream 2 for Germany, not the Federal Republic of Germany, or as I always say, Federal Republic in Germany, because it's only the administration and not some body. Mr. Miller understood that. He gave me that contract. Mr. Lavrov said it's okay. And I came with contracts and back to Berlin. What for the Federal Republic of Germany government, the administration of the United Germans, say. And I went to see Mr. Scholz together with Mr. Schröder, who opened the doors for me because he would not have been allowed to enter just like that. So Gerhard Schröder played a very positive role in that. We went to see Chancellor Scholz, and we put two contracts on the table, and Mr. Habeck, the Energy and Economics Minister from the Greens, was also sitting there and saw that happen as well. He always claimed that Russia switched off the gas. I said, well, we can switch it on ourselves. We want. We just have to tell Russians that we signed this contract, this treaty. And so I put both treaties there, and he said, either you sign or I sign. But if I sign, then you sign.
And now we're coming to the key issue, maybe, of what we are discussing here. That's the issue of institutions and legitimacy, and what we do outside of these institutions that do not represent the real voice and will of the sovereign nations anymore, and how we can, through our Macedonian National Assembly, People's Assembly, and your German Constitutional Congress, and other institutions that represent millions of people who have gone to the streets to protest the system that does not allow formulation of such indigenous will into real political power through the corrupt institutions. How do we bring these issues that are of essential interest for our nations to the core in the institutions? And how do we put pressure on the institutions to act according to the will of our sovereign nations? And if they don't, how do we, outside of the formal institutions, create platforms that will channel that will directly to the institutions of the new multipolar world? I know that there are wonderful people and parties and movements throughout Europe that are fighting for sovereignty, but they are never allowed to get the real power, starting from Salvini in Italy, from Le Pen in France, Alternative for Deutschland in your country, Sarah Wagenknecht, other parties that are not allowed to be part of the mainstream, not let alone get the power. So what do you think? Whether there is a mileage, there is potential for us to work within the institutions or outside of the institutions to solve this crucial issue of return and the need for return of sovereignty of our nation states.
Yes, I see a great chance, actually, that this is also due to the second president, because he is not an isolationist, of course, he is international, but he is questioning that the United States should be engaged. Cost them on one hand a lot of money. On the other hand, also bring some benefit that concurrent countries, but we can probably, with him, find a better way to agree that we could say, we remain, but we don't want the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, what was it, Syria, to Ukraine, conducted from our territory. So we can talk to him probably, but he is rather peaceful gentleman in that sense, that he, in his first term, would not start new wars and try to close some old, just like Afghanistan and so on. And he managed a bit in that sense. So I think with him, he can have that talk that the European nations want to live under their own domains. Now, be good partners to the United States. He will not be instant, but we have to also ignore the fact that we have more interest in economic sense than rich countries. So, I mean, I think we should join BRICS because we have in 2023, we see our export to China has 19, and our export to America has decreased 20%. So the trade balances are different, and that the real economy and that so always economic places in the new world order and to get it there instead of neo-colonial tied in from the Iraqis and Northern Europe, Western Europe. So I see the great that it's the new world order that is going to be beneficial. Well, but the chances were independent. It's sovereignty in the current sense. Mother integration, but also peaceful. We should have democratic cooperation between government, Republican state, and this we aim at. Well, as I said, I believe that once people are aware of it, and you saw it now just at this climate conference they had, but obviously, even the poorer nations now suddenly waking up to it, where they say it's not a fair deal that we're taking. They are opposing. Yesterday they walked out from the final meeting, so hard to reach any agreement because they are there. They are opposing the idea of this carbon trade, the emission trade bonds and all this, which is just a neo-colonial way to dominate the countries by capitalistic systems where we only favor the richer nations, and so they embed climate change hopes on that matter to use these carbon emission bonds, trading these to deprive them of further economic development, giving them a few months here, of course, to have their governments be corrupted so that they agree to something. But yesterday it didn't work. So we see that these nations are waking up, that dance from Africa, from East Asia to South American countries, they're waking up and say, that time is over, where you can come and dictate us. 60 years after they reached called independence, they had followed 60 years of neocolonialism, that like the European partnership in Africa. This was that like the European partnership in Africa. This was very neo-colonial. And now they see that with the BRICS, they have the chance to represent themselves in a better way, get a better deal. Make new powers of course, China, India, to a certain extent also Russia. So this is what I have my hope that people are waking up, and more and more people know these methods we discuss here. And of course, it is a self-driving force because people will do that from their lives, and they will demand that democratic election campaigns to say, how is the Prime Minister what just the world order? Mr. Chancellor, why don't say that? Just see it's trimmed. See, believe me, the established party system does not go well. What just the world order? Mr. Chancellor, why don't say that? Just see it's trimmed. See, believe me, the established party system does not go well. We see new parties up taking over positions now that before that was Christian Conservative or Social Democrat, or here in Great Britain, in London, the Tories or the Labour. That is not way, But I think that here could make that they will demand that they have a true representation of their interests in the governments.
Thank you very much, Ralph. To conclude, I hope we make this happen sooner and quicker rather than later, because we live in really profound geostrategic changes in the world. These changes make our just and fair struggle more possible than it was like, let's say, 10 years ago. I hope that, as you said, we come together, be able to represent our nations, sovereign nations, oppressed nations, realize the idea from Charles de Gaulle, Eurasia from Vladivostok to Lisbon for the benefits of all sovereign nations, and that we'll have Germany without Rammstein. We have Bonstil removed from the Balkans near Macedonia. We have Incirlik removed, and that we all live together in welfare, in friendship, and cooperation.
Thank you, Van. All the best to all, and especially to the. Thank you.
Thank you.